I'm so excited about the Giants. I am so excited about the Giants. You go on a win streak like that, you come home. Like Grandy made this point before the show, and I think it's a good one. That wasn't just a winning streak. You play those other division teams, you don't play them again until September. The fact that your heater came when you were playing them is huge for your imprint on the division. They passed the Dodgers and almost caught the Diamondbacks and shoved the Padres further into submission. Just an absolute monster stretch of baseball that the Giants have had in the last 2 weeks. So that is great. They've also got Memory Lane coming up tomorrow night in Toronto, where Kevin Gausman will be the starting pitcher and Brandon Belt is going to be in the lineup for the other team. So that's a whole lot of fun. But real quick on Blake Sabol. What everyone said was not wrong. I actually heard Dave Fleming after the game. He was talking about, he's like, I don't know what happened, but here would be my guess. Evan Longoria, if you missed the play, Patrick Bailey hits a little chopper down the third base line.
First and second, 2 outs.
First and second, 2 outs, and you're down 4-2.
Starting to rally.
Uncle Mo was wearing a Giant jersey. The stands were lit. It's a great crowd out there over the weekend.
Been fun.
Wow, the crowd was great. So you get a little bounding ball down the third base line. Evan Longoria is shaded over towards second base, so he gets there, but way too late to do anything about it. But he dives, and he stops the ball from going down the third base line. And then he did something odd with his body. Like, he got to the ball, and then he just sort of lollygagged. Like, he stayed down for a minute, as if, like, I'm not in any hurry, which was because he had the ball in his hand. So if anybody tried to take another base, he was going to have him dead to rights.
He was only 10 feet into the outfield.
Sabol read that as he missed it, and the ball went down the line. And Fleming was guessing that well before anybody had talked to him in the locker room. And then afterward, it's exactly what Sabol said. He said, I took a quick look up. I looked at Longo. His body language suggested that he didn't catch it. I'm thinking, if it's down the third base line, I got a chance to tie the game right now. Score from first base. So I just kept on running. So Longo stands up, and it's like, dude, you're cooked. And throws him out. Inning over. Rally dead. I get
because he was halfway to third, and as he looks up, he realizes one of his teammates is, standing on the base.
Right.
And it dawns on him that it's illegal in these parts to have 2 players on the same base at the same time.
Would be a game changer if that was allowed. That would have been great. Blake would have been safe.
It's called pickle. That game is a different game.
Here's what Gabe Kapler had to say about the whole thing.
So I've watched the play several times, talked to Blake about it. He runs around second base as he's supposed to. So he attacks second base hard with his head up, puts his head down around second base, looks up and sees Longo on the grass, right? He also hears the crowd getting really loud, and he's making the assumption that the ball's down the left field line. In his brain, he's thinking about scoring. He's a very, very aggressive base runner. He has been the entire season for us. I maybe a little bit over aggressive. I think if there was any feedback to give Blake, that would be it. Also, young, developing player that's ran the bases very well for us so far, come up in some huge spots for us. He doesn't even have a chance to do that unless he draws a big walk. So, look, we can't make those type of base running errors. If it happens often, it's really going to hurt us. I also think it's kind of fair to give Blake the benefit of the doubt here, call it a very aggressive and perhaps over-aggressive base running mistake, but not make too much of it, turn the page and get ready for Toronto.
Obviously, it was unfortunate. And he's not wrong. I get it. Then again, there's something that comes up in my mind, and we do this repeatedly, and it's actually come up in the Warrior conversation, and we should do it with the Giants now as well, because the Giants have a bunch of them who've come up, from Casey Schmidt, Patrick Bailey, Luis Matos, Blake Sabol. They got a bunch of rookies on the team. And in fact, one of our YouTube watchers right now just said, and it's Claymond Currens Pooney on YouTube, said, bad mistake, but he's a youngster. He is. He's a youngster. But sometimes I think we do this. We did it with Jonathan Kuminga. Oh, he didn't go for a rebound in the Kings series, but he's a youngster. Do you need to be older to know things like that? Do you need to be 28 to know the runner ahead of you's not going, I should stop.
No, but that was a good explanation by Kapler in terms of, and I love the way he describes it. He attacked second base like, he just attacked it.
Like he was going to eat it for dinner.
Exactly. And then you round second, he's got his head down. And, he's a rookie who made a small mistake in not a meaningless game, but it's just a game.
I don't
and
call
the way
it a
things
small
have been,
mistake at all.
It's a small mistake.
That was a huge mistake.
Well,
that's a big game.
It's a game in June.
And they were,
Jonathan Kuminga didn't chase a rebound. That was one play that was symptomatic of a much bigger problem, which was he lost his confidence. He lost his confidence because they stopped playing him. They stopped playing him because he wasn't playing well. And when he wasn't playing well and they stopped playing him, the little dollops that he did play, he wasn't playing with confidence and aggressiveness. That play to me was much bigger than a rookie in a base running error.
I'm not going to disagree with that because it was in a playoff game. But my larger point is this. When we talk about mistakes made by young players, there's two different kinds. The Kyle Haynes, the director of player development for the Giants, was on with us a couple of weeks ago and stated Matos is going to make some base running errors. And Matos got picked off. He got picked off over the weekend. That's the kind of, okay, he's young, so he's aggressive. He doesn't know the tendencies and the tricks that the pitchers are going to play on him. That I get. Okay, young player, you're getting to know the big leagues. I don't need to be in the big leagues to realize that when the runner in front of me is not going, I need to stop. Especially when the play is happening in front of me.
Yes.
Like if everyone's like, well, he's running hard, his head is down. Get your head up. What is your head doing down? You literally have the benefit of the fact that the play is happening right in front of you. Keep your head to the left. You can see three things. Longoria catch the ball, the runner ahead of you not go, and I don't know if you know this, Dibs, there's a coach over there who will tell you what to do. But if you don't want to look at any of those three things, just keep running and then run a big league baseball game into the ground in the eighth inning. I'm sorry. Like, that's not an excusable mistake. You can't go, oh, he's young. My son knows not to do that. He's 9.
It's just a mistake. I mean,
it's a mistake, but it's not a big league mistake.
I don't think it's a rookie mistake. I think it's just a case of a player who didn't obviously look up in time. By the time he looks up, he's between second and third, and it's an blank moment because you realize Longoria is standing there with a baseball, and there's somebody on third. And so now you're stuck and you're screwed. Yeah. Lesson learned, and you move on. If that happens in Game 5 of a playoff series in an elimination game, we're having a different conversation. It's a rookie who made a rookie mistake in a June game that, you know what? You might not have won that game anyway. Even if he does score, the game's only tied. They scored a run in the next inning anyway.
Well, of course. They needed another hit to even tie the game after that. Yep. But they had clear momentum going. The pitcher was shook.
No doubt.
The stadium was all set up. And they're a half game out of first place right now today, potentially.
If they win that game.
If he doesn't run into that. I like San Jose Jazz fan on YouTube just wrote, Sabol just needs minutes.
It's pretty good. He's getting a lot of minutes.
Exactly.
All those
a lot of minutes
rooks.
here on 95.7 The Game. You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco, always live on Twitch, YouTube, and the free Odyssey app. The other side of that, though, is, Sabol did a great job of working a walk to even get on base. There's a completely different energy. A completely different energy around the entire lineup and everything going on there, even in a game like yesterday, which in the late innings got messed up about 3 different ways. You still get down to the last at bat with the tying run at the plate, and the Giants were just an incredibly difficult out. And I don't know how you watch the last, and this is specific to the last 10 games. The last 10 games, and the Giants' record during those 10 games is 8-2. The last 10 games were the Dodgers for 3, the Padres for 4, the Diamondbacks for 3. Quite frankly, that's it. That's your division. The Rockies are irrelevant. Those are the 3 teams you're going to need to navigate. And for them to play the way they did in those 10 games, have the success that they had, some of it at home, some of it on the road, I don't even know how you could be more encouraged as a Giants fan based on where they're at right now.
No, it's incredible, and it's exciting, especially when you look at how close the division is in terms of run differential. There are 16 runs separating the top 4 teams in the division. The Dodgers are first with 47 to the positive. Then the Giants are 2 back of that. Arizona's 11 back of the Dodgers, and then San Diego's 16 back. If you factor in expected win-loss records based on that very run differential, you would be looking at a division right now led by the Dodgers by a half game over San Francisco, a full game over Arizona, and a game and a half over San Diego. You'd have 4 teams separated by a game and a half. That's to say that this thing is not only far from over, we might have a good old-fashioned 4-team division race.
Totally possible.
And Mark, if this thing does continue to go this way, it makes those last 10 games even more important, because we talked about this before. In the new balanced schedule, you're not playing Arizona, San Diego, and LA 19 times apiece. You're playing them 12 times apiece. So to win those head-to-heads now, you mentioned it, you don't play these teams again for a long time, but you've got that certain leg up on them in terms of that head-to-head that you've already won.
What do you think the Giants' playoffs odds, FanGraphs, are right now?
Right now, it's got to be 79%.
71.5.
Okay.
71.5. Right behind the Diamondbacks are 73.9. Dodgers are at 89% to make the playoffs. So that's, by the way, not that we ever want to like grab one of the, I don't know how we do this on the air. I'd love to talk to somebody with FanGraphs once upon a time to figure out what determines playoff odds, seemingly factoring in the team you think they're going to be. In other words, the Dodgers right now are exactly a half game behind the Giants. They're a half game behind the Giants, yet their playoff odds are a full 17.5% higher. What's that about? Just because you think they're good? And I'm not saying I think differently. I understand that the perception is that the Dodgers have a better roster than the Giants, but how does that get factored into the math? Why do the Dodgers have a 17.5% better chance to go to the playoffs than the Giants when the Giants are a half game ahead of them at this hour?
It's based on projections. A lot of it's based on projections and overall talent assessment in terms of, what they think of the roster. So it says we use a number of different systems such as Steamer, Zips, and Fan. It's so funny.
I don't know what that is.
Well, Zips is created by a guy at ESPN, and then you use Zips, which is depth chart based. So it's basically looking at a team's roster and basing these projections on what these players are most likely to be when all is said and done. So you take a combination of what's already happened mixed with what is likely to happen. Baseball is the most predictive sport, I think, of the big three in terms of...
You think?
Yeah, in terms of...
It feels the opposite.
I think a player, like a good 8-year veteran, is most likely to perform within a certain realm, more so than an NFL player or an NBA player.
Okay, well, I'll buy that. The other side to that is, baseball, you don't get in the NBA or the NFL a team like the Miami Marlins, where you're like, they're just tracking toward the playoffs and nobody could name a player on their team. Like in the NBA, you can be a little surprising, but if you've got the stars, you're going to be the 1, 2, or the 3 seed, and we can see that coming ahead of time. Sometimes there's a small party crasher, but does that go deep? Very, very rare. Even the Miami Heat, while they were an 8 seed, came out of the play-in tournament. Sure, they've got a star player, they've got pedigree, and they were in the finals just a few years ago. So, and they were in the conference finals literally the year before. So, I don't know. Baseball, to me, feels the least predictive as far as what can happen. Like, the Braves are going to go to the playoffs this year. The next 3 most likely, Dodgers, Giants, Diamondbacks. I don't know. Based on what I've seen from those 3 teams, I think that can be a pretty neck-and-neck deal the rest of the way. I don't feel like any team is overwhelmed by the other one in terms of roster.
Yeah, I think that the Dodgers, if you looked at, the names and the numbers that go along with those names and the seasons that they've had over the course of their career, would indicate, and that's what the models would tell you, that they're more likely those players are more likely to start performing closer to their career averages than they have so far.
Right, but their bullpen is worse, for example, which is just as predictive. And this doesn't take into account what deals any of these teams are going to make next month.
It's true.
So I'm just wondering out loud, but no, it very much all of the sudden the young guys come up. You have the way they've played over the last 6 weeks, and it has changed our outlook on all of this because it right now feels like there's going to be postseason baseball coming to the Bay Area.
Right.